We're going to talk about how to get traffic so you can build volume to the website for the long term. Now, before you watch this video, if you haven't already, watch the first one because it does talk about why volume is not the number one thing when driving traffic to your website. Before volume has to come quality, and I explain that more in the first video. So without further ado, let's just get into building long-term traffic to your website. So what comes to your mind when you think about the traffic sources? Let's just list the different sources. So maybe the first thing coming to your mind is social media. Absolutely, this is a good one. The only thing is social media, as we know, comes with lots of algorithms, and that might be inconsistent traffic. It might be, if you have enough followers, you might get traffic, but we're looking for traffic where someone is in a position to buy, okay? Someone is in a position to buy. Traffic that you're going to want is actually coming from networking, okay? Networking outside of social media. So when you think about, remember in the last video we talked about, again, the position to buy. We want traffic that is in the position to buy because otherwise it's just kind of fruitless, right? So we have to think about other businesses. So this is where we think about B2B traffic. For example, McKellen's case, if she's an artist, right? Who is in a position to buy for her art? Well, it's going to be interior designers. They're always looking for art. It's going to be office buildings. Not the actual office. I wonder who runs. Maybe it'd be the office building managers. What these things have in common is now we're looking for businesses who literally use art as a part of their process. So they have to source it from people. And so this gives us a network of people who are in a position to buy. I think I'm kind of out of ideas for people who are in a position to buy art that are business owners. But if you know any, please let me know in the comments. Maybe you're not an artist, but you want to stick with this. Stick with business to business. And if it's not business to business, the next thing you could do are consumers, right? So this would be people who are in a position to buy who aren't business. This would be like B2C traffic. I'm going to go a little deeper then with consumers because if you're just relying on social media or if you're new to traffic building at all, like maybe you really haven't really surveyed your audience and surveyed your traffic sources to realize, are they in a position to buy? And if you can't answer that question, or if you don't know that answer, then here are the questions you're going to need to know in order to determine if someone can buy as a consumer. So someone who's positioned to buy artwork, for example, maybe it's for an occasion, it's for a birthday, they might buy it for a gift for someone, or maybe it's just to treat themselves. So again, you really have to use that messaging, utilize describing the exact moment when someone would buy. This is where empathy comes in. And again, if you're not an artist, this totally carries over to you, your product or your service. Is it a gift? Is it for a self-indulgence? If you'd like, I do have a free legacy pledge map that you can fill out to answer this question. What value will it bring to their lives? And this helps you really position your brand in a way that shows the value of what this person is buying. So, for example, if you're an artist and you're selling your art as, hey, buy my art, well, understand that's not what people really are really buying from you. I mean, and that's not what you're really selling. What they are buying from you are the feelings and the experience and the transformation that occurs when they can have your piece of art in their home or their office or wherever it is, okay? So don't sell the product or service itself. You're selling the outcome, the transformation, the feelings, and the experience. And so I can there's a link in the YouTube description where you can download the Legacy Pledge Map, go through it. But if you're having trouble with it, feel free to book a call with me and I'll help you go through it as well. You want to stick with business to business, I put first, because this is the highest priority, because literally these people are given budget to decorate, things like that. So if you could think of more businesses where you can market to or pull traffic from, this is going to be your golden egg, really. So now that we understand the target of the traffic, let's look at long-term sources. Backlinking, if you've never heard of it, is basically just setting up links through partnership sites that drive traffic back to your site. Backlinking is a way to create continuous traffic, quality traffic. Remember, you want traffic, which means people who are in a position to buy going to your site. So generally, this would come from partnering with other business owners who have your audience, people in a position to buy, of course. Maybe it's an influencer. Maybe it's a blog. Think out of the box. Think about all the channels you can have in marketing. Maybe it's a local shop. Maybe it's a newsletter. So what's really cool about this is that the sky really is the limit. So all you have to do is really just be good at building relationships and get to know people, and make sure that when you're looking to build this long-term traffic, so for example, to finish the thought about what backlinking could be when you acquire these partnerships, is so let's say an influencer has not just a social media following, but an email list. And so this email list is hit up once a month through their own promotions or whatever. You want to ask if you could have access to that email list. But then the influencer is going to ask, well, what value can you bring me? So you have to know the value you can bring the influencer. And this goes with the blog, the shop, and the writer with the newsletter. What value can you bring these audiences? And you see, you're making an exchange here. So maybe you can if you can come up with some strategy to present the person you want to drive traffic to your site, not just on one email, by the way, not just on one blog. You want to create a long-term partnership where the link is parked somewhere. That's what backlinking is. It's parked on other places outside of your website and outside of social media, so that long-term traffic, quality traffic, is being driven to your site. So you have to ask yourself, what value can I provide? And if you don't know, this is where strategy comes in. This is where you have to know really it's helpful to know the foundations of marketing, the foundations of branding, in your business model also. So it's asking you to look at your services differently too. For example, an artist, you may say, well, I just paint art. What value can I provide? Well, how big is your audience? That's a value. And you have to ask yourself too, does your audience match the people who are in a position to buy for the influencer, blog, shop, or newsletter that you would like to partner with? So you have to find these overlaps, right? You have to be very particular with who you connect with. Find these overlaps in your audience and then propose a partnership. And all you have to do is just know your value, is what it comes down to. So the value is going to be in the overlaps, okay? Regardless of how big your audience is, if you can find an overlap, and that means people are going to be engaged and match the criteria that's needed to be engaged on not only your site, but on this partner's sites too. And that's what we all want. We all want the same thing, right? We want more visitors. We want more time on the site. We want that community retention, okay? And of course, you can even think of a collaboration, a new collaboration. Again, we want to think out of the box here, but the overall intent is long-term traffic. You might be asking yourself, well, what about SEO, search engine optimization? Yes, absolutely. But in my experience, this is great for Google, for Google searches. You are competing with keywords when searching the internet that are purchased by people who can afford it. Okay, so people spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month on SEO. And we don't want to compete with that, because we can't compete with that unless we're filthy rich. So an organic method, which as you can see here, I only really do organic methods. That's all I teach, because I do believe that's the most effective, is if you're going to do SEO and you want people to find you in Google search, differentiate your brand name. If you don't have a unique name, I wouldn't recommend doing it. But if you do, well, that's when you can actually, make that a domain name. Your name .com and if it's very unique, you'll automatically be at the top of the search results. Okay, so this is what I often recommend to clients who may not have a lot of, they don't want to invest in keywords, but they want to be quickly at the top of results. So you look at the path of least resistance, and often that's creating a name that no one else has as a brand. So there is a way to look up your brand names through US Registry and other registries all around the world, because you want to make sure no one's using that name in a domain or as a business, because then you're going to get mixed traffic and the numbers and all the analytics will be very misleading. So yes, SEO is helpful if you have a differentiated brand name, or if you have a lot of money to buy keywords. If you don't, you're going to be competing with a lot of organic keywords, and so if that's the case when you are competing organically, then that just means you have to spend a lot of time inserting keyword phrases that people find to find art, people who are in a position to buy, and insert it in blogs, insert it in your website, always drawing people back to your blog. And it's a lot of work to get to SEO, get SEO at the top of Google organically, but it can be done, but just know it takes a lot of work. So this is why, to me, SEO, it's the last stop, after you have all your ducks in a row. Okay, next, traffic to your website, DMs. DMing people, having a DM campaign is very good because you're generating curiosity. And so if you have DMs going out and it's a part of relationship building, right? People are going to naturally be curious. And as long as the DMs are done in a very authentic way and you mean what you say, your intention is positive and you really want to get to know someone, they're going to be checking back on all of your resources. They're going to look at your pages, they're going to look at your website, because they're getting to know you also. So direct messages are a great way to build traffic back to your site. Quora, have you heard of Quora? Quora and other forum sites? This is a great way to generate traffic back to your site. Again, we want to look at just generating traffic for people who are in a position to buy. But this comes to really looking for answers, or looking for questions, I should say. Some people want to know, hey, does anyone know a good artist I can buy from? And people are asking questions like, hey, I want this kind of art for my shop or for my home. And you would answer. So you would sit there and answer these questions. You'd put a link back to your website. So it's, again, a form of backlinking. The only thing is it's a little more effort because it takes continuous management and maintenance, because it's a forum. So you're going to have to constantly check up on different questions. But the good thing about a forum also is once you backlink once, that post is going to remain there for years, probably forever. And people will be able to find your answer at that one post. And so you might see this too. They have a lot of these kinds of things in communities on social media. For example, communities you'd look for are people who are, again, in a position to buy. So you're thinking of the buyer. You'd look for interior design communities, the B2B businesses that we mentioned earlier, right? And again, you're building relationships in another community with people who are willing, open, and interested in buying. They're already in that position. You don't have to do any warming up. And so you're driving traffic back to that site. So as you can see, a lot of it does come down to strategy, which is just too much to handle in this video. Strategy is also very customized. It's really helpful to understand what works for you and what doesn't, and test things, so that way you can create your own strategy and plug and play in any platform or in any medium, and you can make something work for you that's totally self-sufficient from any one tool. So then you won't be relying on any one tool. That's what I mean by self-sufficient. And then of course you have handling it like the old-fashioned paper trail. This is flyers, stickers, posting business cards, on bulletin boards, excuse me, or anywhere that your ideal audience who's in a position to buy, people with pocket money. For example, if you're an artist, people with pocket money, people who are looking to advance the aesthetics of their home. So again, right, you'd go into the interior design businesses. You'd go into the maybe some realtors offices. You'd go into office buildings like psychologists or whatever, and people who match kind of your ideal audience of like people who you think would be into your painting. So for example, you just have to know who would buy your paintings. Where would they look good? Where would they complement the space and the energy? So it's all about knowing your buyers, knowing who would want to buy, who's in a position to buy, and who your services and products would make sense for. Then you go into their businesses and like, hey, can I leave my business cards? Hey, can I leave a flyer? Hey, I have a promotion going on. You're creating relationships with these people. That's the old-fashioned paper trail method. And then, of course, events. If you go to an event, you can have a table, as long as you always have a marketing kit, somewhere you can collect email addresses and collect leads and follow up and have that relationship building skills. You're going to get traffic that way as well. And then, again, this is inorganic, so I try to stay away from it because this is only going to work if you have the strategy, the funnels, and everything tested prior to launching this. But advertisements and other websites will draw traffic back to you. But of course, you want advertisements in places that make sense. So maybe like you can sponsor a craft fair and you'd show up in all of their flyers and their bulletins. Or if you sponsor a website that's a blog for interior designers, you would have people directly back to your site all the time. All these things cost a lot of money. It's usually a monthly fee. But again, it's locking in that key audience who is in a position to buy. This is just a little video brainstorming, but I think it's really helpful. But if you feel like you need more help on identifying the values of your brand, like what can you offer people to partner with them and to strategize so that you can have more long-term traffic partnerships, I would recommend going through my Legacy Pledge Map and getting on a call with me. Let's do it together. Or you could try it by yourself, but I'll drop the link, and I think that will really help. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate